Have you ever just stopped and really looked around the faction hideouts in Skyrim? I'm not talking about speeding through quests, clicking on NPCs and running to the next marker. I mean actually standing still, taking it all in. What details are hiding in plain sight? Are there things we've missed even after visiting these places a dozen times? So I decided to check out the headquarters of every major joinable faction and really pay attention this time. I'll be digging into all the weird, interesting little details. And of course, we'll talk about them together. We'll also look at the vibe of each place. Does the atmosphere actually match what the faction's all about? Would it be a cool place to live or somewhere you'd want to get out of as soon as possible? Let's dive in and find out. First, let's check out the Dark Brotherhood hideout. I really like where it's placed, right in the forest near the main road, but still hidden surprisingly well. You can walk right past it and just notice the area is intriguing with the foggy water and all the nightshade around. It definitely gives up a mysterious vibe, but standing on the edge won't reveal the best part, the entrance itself. And honestly, it's such a cool detail. A traveler might spot something interesting in the scenery, but then just keep walking. By the way, whenever I head to the Dark Brotherhood from Falkreath, I always go through the cemetery. It's the quickest route. And it makes me wonder, was that cemetery placed on that side of town on purpose? To set the right atmosphere just before we reach the Dark Brotherhood entrance? To actually get inside, you need to know the password. And I love how the door looks. It already sets the tone for the whole place before you even step in. Creepy, ominous. Probably most people, even if they found the door, would just turn around and leave. Once you enter, the first thing you see is a long hallway. It's surprisingly bright here thanks to a hole in the ceiling. Then we walk into a chamber that's not exactly welcoming, with skulls everywhere. The dagger stabbed into the map really stands out. It feels like a threat, like someone just got a new contract. Though seriously, how did they manage to stab a blade into a solid stone table? Just behind that area is a little bedroom. I especially love the fireplace. It's literally a hole in the rock with fire in it. No fancy structure, and that's what makes it perfect. A regular fireplace would feel out of place here. Out of curiosity, I checked if there is a hole above it for the smoke to escape, and there is, which honestly could be a downside for a secret hideout. I mean, if someone sees smoke rising from the ground, they might start asking questions. But hey, you need proper ventilation, so there is probably not much they could do about that. I also like that the bed isn't some luxurious thing like you'd see in some places. It's the Dark Brotherhood, not a king's palace, right? Usually, I like when interiors have plans for a bit of color, but here that would totally ruin the vibe. The ivy though? It works. It's dark green, no flashy colors, fits the place perfectly. Okay, let's head deeper underground. Now, this next area is seriously amazing. Super spacious, very eerie, and filled with nightshade and mushrooms, plants that might be associated with shady business. You've also got ferns around and roots hanging down from the walls. The fog and water really complete the vibe. And that skull decoration? Ominous in the best way. There's a corner for crafting and upgrading weapons and armor, and right next to it, a space to practice your combat skills. Which makes total sense. Dark Brotherhood members need a place to train and prep gear, right? So what else do we have? Going to the right leads to a pretty messy room. Not much going under, but just nearby is a bedroom. It's surprisingly bright compared to the others, again thanks to another hole in the ceiling. That might actually be a weak spot for the hideout. Someone walking by outside might hear voices or even stumble upon secret plans being discussed. There's another bedroom too, and I definitely wouldn't want to sleep on that stone bed. The nightshade and mushrooms nearby make it feel like someone's brewing poison. And of course, the mushrooms here are called Bleeding Crown. Even that small detail is so cool. Any other mushrooms could have been lying here, but we've got these with the creepy name. There's also a shared sleeping area with just small beds and nightstands, clearly for multiple members. That space connects to a dining room and kitchen, which might be a bit noisy if you're trying to sleep while others are having fun. But I actually love the dining space. What really stands out is the fire near the ceiling. It lights up the room. It's not like a regular chandelier. It fits the whole cave aesthetic really well. Although those fire pits are hanging on ropes, which feels a little risky. I mean, ropes and fire? Probably not the safest combo. I definitely wouldn't want to sit here if one of them snapped. There is a big table for eating and a proper fireplace for cooking. What might be surprising though is that there is even a dedicated cooking counter. Usually in Skyrim it's just a table near a fire, but here it's rounded and seems made to match the curve of the cave wall. Someone here clearly loves cooking. Definitely a bonus for living here, since meals might actually be tasty. The whole place has a slightly messy vibe, but that works. It's not supposed to be fancy. The last area has an enchanting and alchemy tables, which is perfect. I mean, with the kind of work they do, you need access to potions and enchanted weapons. There are spider webs everywhere and even some skeletons lying around. Oh, and yeah, there is a giant pet spider. Honestly, what better pet for the Dark Brotherhood? But if you love the spiders like I do, you definitely want to leave this place as fast as you can. But you know what? When I think about it, there is actually a better solution. And if you look up at the ceiling, there is a massive hole. So if you're wandering the forest near Falkreath, watch your step. You never know when you'll fall into this creepy cave. It would have been amazing if we could actually find the hole somewhere in the forest and fall in by accident. Overall, I love this hideout. It's creepy, mysterious, and feels totally right for the Dark Brotherhood. As a place to live, it's actually not the worst. You've got a bed in a warm space, decent meals, and even some water where you could clean yourself. Sure, the atmosphere might be a little heavy for everyday life, but hey, there are worse places to live in Skyrim. Oh, and of course there is also the Dawnstar Sanctuary, but I focused on the one near Falkreath since it's the one we start with. Alright, next up the Thieves Guild. I've always thought that their hideout is tucked beneath the city, like rats sneaking around in the sewer tunnels. To even get inside, you have to make your way through the Ratway, grimy tunnels full of bandits, and eventually you end up in the Rugged Flagon, the tavern where the guild members hang out. The lighting in here is really cool. There's this mix of white light shining down from the well and a warm orange glow from the fireplace. It gives the place this cozy but sneaky vibe. And if you look closely, you can actually see water dripping from the ceiling. Nice little detail. Honestly, the most interesting part is definitely the tavern itself. The rest of the place is just barrels, crates, and clutter. Well, at least until we restore it to its full glory. But that fireplace, it stands out. It looks completely different from what we usually see in Skyrim. Though, weirdly, it doesn't have any proper ventilation. Might not be the safest setup. Good thing there's probably some fresh air coming in through the well. There's also this dock-style wooden platform with tables where they eat, which is really unique for a place like this. Behind the tavern, there's a hallway that leads to a shared bedroom. What's odd is that all the beds share just one nightstand and one chest. Compare that to the Dark Brotherhood, where each bed has its own setup. But I guess in the Thieves Guild, hiding stuff from the others doesn't really work. They're probably so used to snooping that they checked your nightstand just for fun. And let's be honest, no lock's going to keep your stuff safe around here anyway. From that same hallway, you can also get to the Ratway vaults, more sewer-like tunnels. But here's where it gets more interesting. There's a secret passage you can unlock after a few quests. It leads to another bedroom with just 2 beds, so a bit more privacy and space to stash your loot. And then there is the Rugged Flagon Cistern, another big round room with light coming in from above, again from a well. Which is kind of funny, because there's only one well in Riften, yet somehow we've got 3 shafts of well light down here. One in the cistern, one in the tavern, and one in the Ratway. Would have been cool if we could spot them all from the surface. This part of the hideout also has a bunch of beds, but honestly, not a great place to sleep. People are constantly walking around, talking, and even practicing archery. I really feel bad for whoever's bed that is. Unless you're ready for a permanent nap, if you know what I mean, I'd stay away. It's barely protected by a few wooden boards, and it's close to a grindstone, which probably makes the most annoying sound, echoing off the stone walls. Oh, and there's also an alchemy table nearby, so if the noise doesn't get you, the potion fumes might. So yeah, cool atmosphere, terrible living conditions. There's also a table for eating, a small fire pit for cooking, and the guild master's desk, all crammed into the same space. Looks like they do everything right there. Makes you wonder, do they wash up and take care of all their business in the same area too? I guess you can't really hide anything from fellow thieves. Interestingly, there is no enchanting table anywhere in the entire hideout, but there is a practice area for swordplay and archery. I really like how the targets are placed. Some are high up on the walls, which is a neat detail. Definitely safer and better setup than the one near the bed we talked about earlier. And then there is this cool little training area for lockpicking. Several chests with different difficulty levels and designs. Such a nice touch for the Thieves Guild. There's one more space you can access from the main area, behind a locked door. But don't get too excited. It's already been looted, just a bunch of empty open chests. Nothing left to grab. Oh, and speaking of sneaky entrances, there is that hidden back entrance through the cemetery. Just press a button on this big tomb, and you're in. I love that detail. Plus, it's way more convenient than going through the Ratway every time. Overall, the atmosphere here is great and fits the whole Thieves in the Shadows vibe perfectly. But as a place to live, especially the cistern area, yeah, not exactly home sweet home. Okay, let's talk about the Companions' headquarters. It's located right in Whiterun, and honestly, that fits so well. Whiterun has that classic warrior vibe. It really reminds me of Edoras from The Lord of the Rings, where noble fighters lived and led. The companions are kind of like that too. Brave warriors who live by honor and find purpose in battle. Their headquarters isn't hidden at all like in some other factions. In fact, it really stands out among the other buildings. It looks like a massive ship flipped upside down, which I think is such a cool design choice. I love the way it's decorated with shields, immediately hinting at who lives there. We can also see what look like our halls. At first, I thought those might be extra windows in addition to the regular ones, but you can't actually see them from the inside. What you do notice is the light coming from the ceiling, which turns out to be the chimney hole, and you can even spot it from the outside. It's a nice little detail. So let's talk about the inside. I love the vibe here. It's spacious and warm, and that big fire pit in the center really gives it a bit of a Viking hall feel. It's probably the place where meals are prepared too, since there is no dedicated kitchen anywhere in the building. The long tables around the fire pit look like the perfect spot for the companions to chill after a mission. It's a little dark overall, but that center area really pops, especially with the red carpets on the floor and banners hanging around. You'll also notice barrels nearby, probably filled with ale. I can totally imagine the companions hanging out here, drinking, swapping stories, maybe even showing off their fighting skills. From there, you can head into a large bedroom. I like that everything is wooden, floor, walls, furniture, and check out the ceiling. You can actually see the shape of the ship from the inside too. Heading downstairs, you walk through this long hallway lit by candles. There are more tables down there with food, so clearly these guys love spending time together. Then there is a bigger bedroom with 8 beds. You only get one nightstand for every 2 beds, not ideal, but hey, it's still better than the Thieves Guild setup. The basement walls are made of stone, which makes sense since we're underground. You'll also find 4 private rooms for specific companions, and those are really nice. Each one has its own style, with display cases, bookshelves, animal pets, and even instruments like drums or a lute. The pets are in Ayla's room, which fits perfectly since she is a hunter. Farkas's room is kind of wild. It has a counter with barrels and a wine shelf. It feels like a tavern tucked into a bedroom. I bet he keeps the party going down there when things wind down upstairs. Deeper in the basement, there's one more important room. This is where you'll find Kodlak and Vilka's talking. It has the same style as the other rooms, but what's special here are the maps of Skyrim. I love the little detail. It really feels like a playing space for the leader of the companions. Kodlak's bedroom is just next door. It's decent with a fancy bed, but honestly, I kind of prefer the other private rooms. They just have more personality with all the little things scattered around. Also, there's no alchemy or enchanting table in the whole building, which probably makes sense. These are honorable warriors. They don't need magic to support their fights. Oh, and don't forget the yard outside. There is space to practice swordplay and archery, plus another area to eat. And next to that is this unique blacksmith spot, which makes total sense for a group of warriors. Just by how it looks, you can tell some of the best armor and weapons in Skyrim are crafted here. Just beneath that, there's a secret cave where the werewolf transformation happens, but that area is not super fancy. All in all, I think the companions' headquarters is awesome. It totally fits who they are and what they're about. And like I said earlier, the fact that it's in Whiterun makes it feel even more fitting. Definitely a comfier place to live than the Thieves Guild hideout, that's for sure. Unfortunately, not too many wash basins to be found, only 2 bedrooms have them. But I guess the companions have that pool outside nearby. Might even be better than a small wash basin. Alright, let's check out the College of Winterhold. Right away, you'll notice the harsh conditions around it, tons of snow, freezing wind, and sometimes you can't even see the place through the blizzards. During those snowstorms, it almost looks like the college is floating on a chunk of land in the sky. It's pretty surreal. At first glance, it might be surprising that this is where Skyrim's school for mages ended up. You'd expected it to be in a big bustling city, right? But Winterhold barely qualifies as a town now. Just a few buildings. Thing is, it used to be a thriving city until disaster struck. A huge part of the cliff collapsed into the sea, taking most of Winterhold with it. All that's really left is the college and a handful of buildings. To get to the college, you have to cross a long stone bridge, and trust me, doing it in the middle of a snowstorm is definitely an experience. The college itself totally leans into that cold, mysterious vibe, massive stone walls, snow, and ice everywhere. It's got this really harsh look, but then you see these glowing blue wells that add a magical touch to the whole place. The courtyard even kind of reminds me of the one at Hogwarts, just smaller. You've got archways, spots to sit, and a seriously epic view from way up high. And one thing really caught my eye, a goblet and a wine bottle right by the edge. It's definitely a great place to enjoy the view, but maybe not the safest place for a drink. I mean, one wrong step and you'll get a brief lesson in flying. Maybe that's why the wine and goblet that are still there. Anyway, let's head inside, it's freezing out here. First stop, the Hall of Elements. It's a huge space where students train and gather for meetings. Surprisingly empty actually. In the center is this magical blue light again, and you know what? It kind of gives off Goblet of Fire energy from Harry Potter, don't you think? Off to the side, there is a staircase leading up to a really cozy library. I love the lighting as you walk in. White light from the window, blue from the magic lamp, and a warm yellow glow from candles. It just feels magical. The library is massive, with shelves upon shelves of books. There are chairs to sit and read, but honestly, I'd probably curl up under one of the arches with a book instead. I'm not much of a reader myself, but I love the vibe of real libraries. The smell of old books, the yellowed pages, the quiet atmosphere, it's something special. From there, you can step outside again and take in some beautiful views. Mountains, stars, the aurora, it's incredible. There is also one more room to explore here, the Archmage's quarters, which I absolutely love. It's this beautiful space with a big tree surrounded by plants, giving it such a magical, peaceful vibe. Plus, it's actually useful. Those plants are alchemy ingredients. Besides that, you've got an alchemy lab, an enchanting table, shelves full of ingredients, and of course a big comfy bed with the heads of different snow animals mounted above it. I love that detail. I mean, it's Winterhold, so it makes sense that snowy animals were used as decoration. There is also an upper terrace with an even higher view. Now let's head over to the Hall of Attainment. This is where the students live, and the setup is pretty nice. No shared rooms, everyone gets their own private space. And the beds are actually really good quality. Each room has its own personality. Some are simple, others have more character. One even has hay in the corner, which is kind of weird. I have no idea why anyone would need that in a bedroom. Got any theories? There is also a little hidden nook under the stairs, a small detail, but I love it. Upstairs really gives off student dorm energy. Just look at the bottles lying around. Clearly these mages know how to party. There is a dining area, more bedrooms, and of course a giant barrel probably filled with even more booze. And yep, you can head outside again for another amazing view. One more building to check out, the Hall of Countenance. This one houses the higher ranked mages. It looks identical to the Hall of Attainment, but the rooms have different setups. The room with the alchemy table definitely stands out. Downstairs, besides the bedrooms, there's a dining area and the same giant barrel setup. Upstairs, there are more bedrooms plus dedicated rooms for enchanting, alchemy, and storage. From here, you can go up to the roof again, but there's also a trapdoor that leads down to the midden. A creepy dungeon hidden beneath the college. It's home to a former mage who now exists as a glowing orb of energy. Clearly, some magical experiment did not go as planned. The midden definitely isn't the kind of place people hang out in casually. I especially like the Atronach Forge with the Oblivion symbol. So overall, the College of Winterhold totally delivers that magical atmosphere. Yeah, it looks cold and harsh from the outside, but in a way that just makes it feel more real in Skyrim's brutal world. Aside from the climate, it's a pretty great place to live. Private rooms, incredible views, and everything a starting mage could need. Though, I didn't see a kitchen anywhere. That might be a problem. And seriously, what about wash basin? Sure, you can take a snow bath whenever you want, but come on, only the Archmage has a proper washing spot. And that's all the major faction hideouts in Skyrim. Each one has its own vibe, and I love how different they all feel from one another. The atmosphere inside really fits the personality of each group. If you're talking about the best place to actually live, I'd say the College of Winterhold probably takes the win. Comfy rooms, great views, and everything a member could want. The Companion's Place comes in a close second. It's warm, welcoming, and just feels like home. Now the Thieves Guild, especially before you restore things. Yeah, probably the worst living conditions. And don't mention the bed we talked about earlier. Out of all four, for me the Dark Brotherhood hideout is the most interesting, creepy, and mysterious. But the Companion's headquarters comes right after it. I just love the vibe. What about you? Which one's your favorite? And did you spot anything new you hadn't noticed before? Oh, and if you want to see the minor faction hideouts too, let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, thanks for watching.